We're in Exodus chapter 15. And the previous week, we read about how God destroyed the army of the Pharaoh in the Red Sea. And obviously, the controversy is where is that Red Sea and so on and so forth. So I had shared with you where I think the Red Sea crossing is, in the Gulf of Aqaba. And the incident is not a fairy tale, but a real incident. And in chapter 15, right here, it says, Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord. And so they have a reaction. So when you are happy with what God has done, they are singing to honor God. Now, the Hebrew word for sing is shir. Okay, let me just give you the word. It's shir. Shiyr is shir. And the word for song, right here in verse 2, let's see, not verse 2, sorry. I will sing, and the Lord is my song. Well, later I'll show you. This word is not song in that sense. So let's, this song, just next to it, sorry. This next word here is Shira. If you are familiar with the Malay word, which is adopted from the Arabic word, which is a sister language of Hebrew, we have the word sha'ir, which we call poetry, but it's actually singing, right? It's singing, and things that you sing is called a song. It's a shira. So what we do get is that the reaction from God destroying the army of Pharaoh is turned into a song, which means that this is celebratory. And the contents of the song is important. He says, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. And basically it means that he has been high. He has been victorious. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. So the song itself tells the story, right? It tells the story. The word thrown is Rama. And from here, I'll teach you a little bit of Hebrew. Yara is to point a finger, or properly throw a finger. That's called pointing. And Rama is to, so we have Rama here. It is to throw, to hurl, to shoot. And basically it's to push them down into the sea. And then we have another word called Torah, which is directions. Directions or instructions. Why is it an instruction called Torah? Because when you point a finger and show people the direction, so Torah becomes the noun to say that everywhere I point and teach you what to do and where to go, it's called a Torah. And so it all comes from this root word yara. And so Rama also comes with that, by throwing somebody into the sea, or technically you shoot that person into the sea. The recollection is this: the Lord is my strength and song. I think we need to figure out this. The word strength is odds, which essentially is power, right? God is the power of the Israelites. And then is the song. The song here is actually doesn't really mean song. He is the Zimra. Zimra would give us a picture of a plucking a fruit. Plucking a good fruit. Now, how do we get song? Is because when you pluck the musical instruments, right? That's why the translation here is the song. So it's my strength and my song. And so this comes from the act of plucking an instrument, the music that's made from plucking an instrument. He has become my salvation. Now, the word salvation is Yeshua, right? Yeshua. And one of the things that you should notice, if not by now, that salvation literally means deliverance from danger, deliverance from persecution and oppression, deliverance from a country like Egypt that has placed them into great pains. And so when God comes and takes them out of that environment of pain, it's called Yeshua. And in English, many of us would translate it as salvation. That's where we get the word. He is my El, my mighty one. The word El does not necessarily mean God. He's my mighty one. He's the hero of my life. He's the one who's come in and delivered me. And so I will praise God. And the word praise is Nava. And basically Nava means to celebrate, right? To celebrate, well, what else can you say about this word? To beautify. And you'd be wondering, oh, what has beautify got to do with praise? Basically, it is to show God as someone who is beautiful. That God is the one that has done this. My father's El, and I will lift him up. So exalt him is lift up. So you see the word lift up means if you are in a group of people and you lift up your hands or you lift up something that is high up, then others can see that out of all the people, right? And then you find that something is lifted up. And this is lifted up so you can actually see. And it's prominent. Do you see the word? Exalt means to show that God is different, is exceptional, is high above everyone else. Now the word here, verse 3, is that God is a man of war. And man of war literally means to go out to fight. The Lord Jehovah is his name, is his character. And this is one area which we seldom see. God is a man of war. If you recall in chapter 14, you do realize that the Israelites never fought the Pharaoh's army. It was God who put the waters back and destroyed all of them. And so they are seeing God is fighting this battle for the Israelites. That is his name. That is his character. He will protect his people. And how did God fight the war? Pharaoh's chariots, his army, he cast into the sea. His chosen captains are drowned in the Red Sea. And the word drown is sink. There is no word for drown in the Hebrew. When you sink into the water, the English word that we use is drown. But the visual imagery is they cannot swim in the sea and everything just sank into the water. And verse 5 gives us a picture that the depths means the tahum, the deep sea covered them. And last week I showed you that the sea can be very deep. And so the part that they walked was about 20 meters to 30 meters. And that's a lot of water. But the rest of the Red Sea is about 800 meters. And if the water came in and covered them, they sank to the bottom like a stone. So these are all the imagery. So they are not floating. So what did they do? They are sinking to the bottom of the sea. And so the song, you notice, the Hebrew songs are not singing nonsense. The Hebrew songs is actually telling the story. Your right hand has become glorious in power. Glorious in power means very powerful, very great. And you notice right hand, hand talks about authority. Right hand in particular is the power hand. It's not to say that people are not left-handed, but the Hebrew picture is the right hand is always about power. And so your right hand has dashed the enemies in pieces. And basically it breaks them. Dash them means to break. Verse 7, and the greatness of your excellence. The word excellence is height. It is majesty, right? It is exaltation. That they see God as, I guess it's the Chinese word, 高高在上, that he is that God, and that he has come down to overthrow those who rose against you. Did the army of Pharaoh rise against God? Actually, not in so many words. Rising up against the people of God is against God. And so God protects his people. So you notice that this is the picture. God is a jealous God. Kana, meaning God is like the mother bird, protecting the eggs from the prey to try to eat the eggs. And so God protects his people against those who come and attack his people. And so this is the picture that you have of God. He sent forth your wrath. And by wrath means his anger, right? In his anger, this is about burning. So you can see your wrath is about burning. And in our English picture, it would be like burning hot, right? And he consumes them like stubble. You must understand the picture. Consume means to eat. And since it's burning, it gives you a picture of fire. And when fire burns, it is a picture of eating. And stubble is chaff. Is the unused and useless part of the wheat after you've collected the wheat, like rice as well. Wheat and rice is what we call grains, right? In practical terms, they are grass. And so when you harvest the wheat or the rice for us, we take out the seeds. And the things that's left, that is a husk that's covering, it's of no use. So the wind will blow them away. So God says he consumed, the fire comes down and eats them up. So you notice this is all very imagery. Not that God sent fire, but it is an expression. It is an expression. Okay. Next verse, the blast of your nostrils. Now, nostrils itself, you must understand. The flaring of the nostrils represent anger. And so when God blow out from his nostrils the wind, the waters gather together. You see, this is very poetic, right? The flood stood up like a heap, the depths congealed the heart of the sea. So basically what we are seeing is this. We have the walls of water. And then we have the dry land. And when the water came back, this is what it means. The wind blow the water back, and the water covered all of them like a heap. That's the picture. So the song itself although it tells the story, it is using poetic words. The enemy said, I will pursue. That's the Pharaoh's army. I will overtake. And what they wanted to do in verse 9 is to come near and come after the Israelites. And when they do that, I will divide the spoil. I will beat the Israelites. I'll take back everything they have taken from us. Now remember, when the Israelites left Egypt, they took the spoil, the best of Egypt, as if they've won the war. They took the gold, the silver, and the cloth. And the enemy would say, I will come, I want to do this, I want to take back what they have taken. But God says, my desire shall be satisfied on them. I will draw my sword and my hand will destroy them. And so God blew his wind. Now you notice wind is always used. The word wind is ruach. It is translated as wind, breath, and spirit. And why spirit? It is the thing that's inside you that you can't see. Now, maybe the Chinese have some truth in what they call qigong, right? There's a wind inside. But the idea here is there is that element inside us that we cannot see that is moving in us. And God says he will use his wind that he blow. And you notice in chapter 14, the sea was parted by the east wind. And the sea covered them with the same wind. And it sank like lead into the sea. It's quite interesting, the word lead, right? And the word lead represents the element, right? The metal. But when they use lead doesn't float in water. They give the picture that it just boom, and the whole thing just sank into the sea. Verse 11. Who is like you, O Jehovah, among the Elohim? See the word God's Elohim. All the powerful people, all the idols in Egypt, there is none like you. See, we can always see these phrases. And so it's a theological expression. Who is like you, glorious in holiness? Glorious here means you are made majestic. And holiness is a simple word. It means what? Special, different. And so God is holy in the sense that God is different from everybody else. Who is like you? You're made to rise above everything and people can see your majesty, your greatness. And so you are different. You're holy in that sense. Fearful in praise, in praises. And praise is a very interesting term. Tahillah. Tahillah is a praise, a song that essentially focuses, right? It focuses the picture on God. That's why you call it praise. Halal is a praise, right? Tahillah is a praise. And so hallelujah is praise. Halal means to focus the light on God. And so fearful means the more you see God, you get scared. Wow, God is majesty, and God is powerful. God destroyed the enemies. He is doing wonders. And wonders is Pele. Pele would be, how would you say? Pele would be marvelous works. Why you call it marvelous works? I think it's because in the English it's very hard to express. It's like words cannot describe what God has done. That's what it means by wonders. It is too great to describe it. Verse 12 says, you stretch out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. You in your mercy have led forth your people whom you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. Now we have to break this down. First of all, verse 13, your mercy is hesed. Mercy means kindness. Your kindness is what has led God to do this. God is kind to his people. God is loyal to his people. Why? Because he's loyal to his promise. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and in 400 years they will come back. And so God, in his kindness and loyalty, has come to lead Israel out of Egypt. Now the second word is redeem. Now we have this redeem, Gaal. And the word redeem literally means to, how should we say, bring around a second time. Now, what does that mean is this. We can think of it like a pawn shop, right? I have something valuable. I go to the pawn shop. The pawn shop gives me some money. And then when the time comes, I bring some money and I bring it back to my ownership. So to bring around a second time literally means that the Israelites are in Egypt and they are under the control of the Egyptians and under the influence of the Egyptian gods. And so they are not looking specifically to God as a free people. So they are strangers in that land. And so God says, I will bring around a second time. So what is the first time? The first time is when God brought Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob into the promised land. But God says, but the land is not yours. In 400 years, I will bring your descendants back and they will inherit the land. And so the word redeem gives us a picture that God is going to honor his word to bring them back to the land. So that is the word redeem. So the pawn shop illustration basically to tell us is once it was there in God's ownership, then it is not, and then it comes back again. And so the picture is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were in the promised land, and then they are not because they moved down to Egypt for a famine, and they stayed there for almost 400 years, and now God is redeeming them, Gaal them back into the promised land a second time. And God is a God who guides them. What is guide? Shepherd. The word shepherd is to pasture. The Lord is my shepherd. And the idea of shepherd is to guide the sheep to pastures, to eat grass, to water, to drink. And that is the role of a shepherd. And to protect them from harm. And so that in itself is shepherd. The shepherd doesn't cook good meals and stuff like that, right? The shepherd just knows that when you need to eat, I can take you there. When you need to drink, I will bring you there, and it's calm water. So Psalm 23 gives a very good picture of a shepherd's job. And God guides them to this place with his strength, with his power, to what? Your holy place. And it says your holy habitation. It's a very strange word, but it would be linked to shepherd. So it would be a special pasture. That is this word. To your holy habitation. It is a special place to rest. It is a special place to enjoy. And what do we call this? This is the promised land. Verse 14, the people will hear and be afraid. The people can hear what God is doing and they will, in this case, the word afraid here is not the usual word fear God. The word here to be afraid is to be disquieted. Now, let me explain to you this word. Disquieted means when you hear strange sounds, when you hear sounds of war, when you hear fighting, you get uncomfortable. You get to be disturbed. You get excited. Now, that's the word. And it would really be like, when you suddenly hear noises and commotion outside your house when people are fighting, it causes you to be afraid. That would be the word, right? It's not about fear God. And then it says sorrow. Sorrow here would be labor pains. I know that English doesn't quite represent this, but it is like labor pains. What is labor pains? Painful, but it doesn't come all the time. It comes every now and then. That's labor pains, right? And so the picture of the labor pains would be about the people of the Philistines. And the Philistines would be in the coastal land. God did not bring them through the way of the Philistines. God brought them to the way of the wilderness. But one day they will meet the Philistines, and the Philistines will always come after them. Who do you know the most famous enemy of the Philistines? Goliath. Okay. What else are labor pains coming? The chiefs of Edom will be dismayed. Who is Edom? Edom is the descendants of Esau. The mighty men of Moab. This is the son of Lot, right? And says, trembling will take hold of them. All the inhabitants of Canaan will melt away. What does this mean? This is a very important passage. It means that when they go into the land of Canaan, the Philistines will be afraid of them. The Edomites will be afraid of them. The Moabites will be afraid of them. They'll be all shaking. Why? Because they hear how God has destroyed the Egyptians. And the Egyptians, everybody is afraid. Fear and dread will fall on them by the greatness of your arm. They will be as still as stone. Don't move. Don't pretend you're dead until your people pass over or cross over their land, because you have to cross over Philistine, Moab, or Edom to go into Canaan and to conquer Canaan until the people pass over them whom you have purchased. Now, this is important. What do you mean by the people you have purchased? The people you have kana. People you have kana, and kana gives us a picture of jealousy. Okay? It's the same set of words. Kana's root is jealous. And I've mentioned to you, jealous means when the mother bird is protecting the eggs from prey. And so that is jealous. He's jealously guarding what is precious to the bird. What you have purchased means that what God has taken ownership. And what God has taken ownership, God will protect. And this is the word purchased. Verse 17, very quickly. You will bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance. And these are all very poetic words. First of all, bring them means you will cause them to come into the land. Plant them means you push into the ground. I think this picture is very good with the Chinese idea of planting paddy. You know, when you plant paddy, you get a few strands of the paddy plant, and then you make a hole in the ground and you push it in and you make it stick in the ground where it's water. And that is plant. So you really put them with roots into the ground. In the mountain, in the mountain or the hill of your heritage. Heritage means your property. And what it says is there is a mountain that God owns. And later we'll see it to be Zion. Zion, I think, would be spelled as Z-I-O-N, right? Zion or Zion. And it says here, in the place, O Lord, which you have made for your own dwelling, the sanctuary. And the word sanctuary, you notice there is no sanctuary as in a temple, but there is a sanctuary as in the tabernacle. That one day God will put it into the mountain. And this is the place where God dwells. God's presence will be there. Okay? And this is a place where God has appointed. And so the song ends this way. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. So let me explain this. Reign means be king. That's literally what it means. The word forever and ever is olam va'ad. It means for a long time and onwards. And that's how the Hebrew speaks, right? That is, it's going to be a long, long time. And the reason is the horses of Pharaoh with his chariots and horsemen went into the sea, and the Lord brought back the waters of the sea on them, but the Israelites went on dry land in the middle of the sea. And so here you can see the song comes to an end, that it remembers what God has done, what they have done, how God became victorious over the Pharaoh. And that's the song of Moses. Then it came on to the song of Miriam. Miriam is the sister of Moses, and here we are told that she's also a prophetess. Now understand, a Navi, or and this is the word, N-A-B-I. In Arabic, we call it Nabi, but in Hebrew is pronounced as Navi. And a prophet doesn't always talk about the future. A prophet actually talks about what God wants to tell them about themselves, about their errors, about instructions, about commandments, and occasionally they do talk about the future, which is predictive. And so she, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And they were, dances is not the modern dances. They will be jumping around and moving in motion together. And Miriam answered them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea." And that was exactly what Moses had said. And now, notice the women. So Miriam teaches the women. Moses teaches all the people, but in particular the sons. But for the daughters, Miriam is there to teach them so that the women will learn to teach their children when they have children. And so we end with the songs here. Now moving forward in verse 22, the journey continues. In verse 22, it says that Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. Interestingly, the word brought is not caused to come. The word brought literally means to pull out. And we will see this word pull out, but not in those words. We would say continue the journey, brought. And these are all English words. But the Hebrew word is to pull out. So Moses pulled out Israel. What does that mean? It means literally when they have tents, you have tent peg that is into the ground holding the tent together. Well, when you remove the tent peg, it implies that you are packing up the tents and you are ready to go on a journey. And so Moses took Israel on the journey from the side of the Red Sea. And they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And I believe the wilderness of Shur will be the northern part of the Arabian Peninsula. And went for 3 days in the wilderness, and then they found no water. Now you need to be very clear. Water in the wilderness is extremely important, and not just water, drinking water. The Red Sea has plenty of water, but nobody can drink. So they need drinking water, and we're talking about 1 million people. So now they came to a place called Marah. This place is called Marah. Now I know that in our Malay word, we have Marah, meaning you are upset, you want to scold somebody. It has that kind of connotation. They found that they came to a place where there is pools of water, but they could not drink the water in Marah because they were bitter. Now you notice the word Marah, although it is an expression of anger in the Malay word, Marah literally means bitter. And when they were bitter and the water was bitter, they came to Marah and the water was Marah. And so the name of the place was Marah. Now in Hebrew, they can use the word Marah all the time and they know what it means. In English, bitter is a nicer word to use than Marah. Now the word bitter is that the taste of the water is bitter. It can also refer to the attitude of a bitterness, that they will complain, And so the people in verse 24 complain against Moses. And the word complain is murmur. They lodge a complaint. And I guess you could say that they are not happy. Maybe that would be the word you could use. They are not happy, and they place these words against Moses and ask them, "What shall we drink?" And so he cried out to the Lord. Look at who is he. That would be Moses. Moses don't know what to do. And so he called out to God. And the word cry is literally crying for help. Cry for help. And the Lord showed him a tree. And the word tree would also means, how should you say? The wood or the branches. And he says, throw it into the waters. And then the waters was made sweet. And so there was the word sweet. Now, I am sure here that this is not sweet as in sugar sweet. This is sweet as in pleasing. So that the water can be drunk. So you can drink the water. As opposed to bitter means you put in your mouth, you want to vomit out. And now the water has turned itself. So now, is this a magic trick? No. I think there is a bit of science here that the water is now cured from the bitterness. And maybe there is some chemistry here as well. And here, God made a statute and an ordinance. Now, statute and ordinance is what we would say. Statute would be the boundaries. Boundary. Ordinance here would be judgment. Right? Commandment, statute, and judgment. So this would be judgment, how they are to make decisions. And there, God tested them. The word test here is to prove. To prove. Do you know test, to prove, to tempt? It's not bad. Although we use the word tempt, it's like, for bad things. And then tes is for good things. Actually, in the Hebrew, there's only one word. So whether you use it for the good or for the bad, it's still the same word. The word is nasa. And it is for God to see whether the Israelites would do what? Look at this verse. Verse 26. That if you will to hear the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, to hear, give ear to his commandments and protect all his statutes. And then I will put none of the diseases. And the word diseases here would mean, I would say it would mean sickness or weakness. I'm sure when you have stomach ache, we don't call it an illness. A stomach ache is a weakness. And that is what this word means. God is saying that when you do not listen to me, well, there'll be no water to drink, and God has turned water into blood. There will be the frogs, there will be the locusts. And God says, I have brought all of these plagues on the Egyptians. Now I am the Lord who heals you. And this is important. The word heal is the word Rapha. And the word Rapha means to restore, right? To bring back to completeness. Bring to completeness. Completeness. What is completeness? When you're not sick, you're complete. So God brings you back to shalom, then you are said to be restored. And so God is using the water. You see, when you drink, it is bitter taste. When you call out to me, I will heal the water. So the water is now made sweet. It's pleasing, it can drink. So when you are in Egypt, you can't do much. You have seen me destroy the Egyptians. So now when you are here with me in the wilderness, I want you to listen to my voice. Do what is right and hear my commandments and keep all of this. And then water will be pleasant. That you will not be weak. That you will complain. Everything also you complain. Why? Because don't you know God? You've seen God do this. And so then they came to Elim. The word is Elim. Elim literally means palms. Palms. These are what I would call date palms, not palm trees, date palms, where the fruits are dates. And here in this place, there were 12 wells of water. So nice, right? In this case, when it says wells, this would be not really wells as in Be'er, right? This is ayin, right? Ayin. And literally eyes of water, or 12 sources of water, not wells. Maybe 12 fountains of water would be good. And why 12? Do you realize there are 12 tribes, right? Each tribe can have their own. So God is providing. And so there were 70 palm trees. Now 70, the number 7, right? It is important. And it's a symbol of completeness. There they have water to drink, they have fruits to eat. And so they camped there by the waters. And I want to end with this word. Camp is Hana. Camp is Hana. All right. And then grace is Hanan. It's the same root word. And so grace gives us a concrete picture of a camp. And how do they camp? They are camping in a circle so that they can protect each other. And if you're in the camp, you will be safe. You will be warm. You will have things to eat. You will be protected. And that is the picture of grace. It is in a very nice environment. And that's grace. I know we all can say grace is a gift. In the Hebrew, Hanan gives us a picture of a camp. And if you are lost and finally you find a camp, wow, you see the warmth that's in the whole body that, oh, I'm no longer lost. I am home. I have food to eat, water to drink. People are going to protect me. And that is grace. And there is water, sources of water, fountains of water, and 12 of them to feed 1,000,000 people. And where is Elim? Elim is a wadi. It is an oasis. And I would say that it would be a big oasis. And 70 palm trees were able to feed everybody. And so this is a rich place. And so with this, we end chapter 15.